Well, hello and welcome to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection since 1991. Today is Monday, the 13th of November. My name is Pete Connor, your show's host. Very informative, a couple of segments for you today. We're going to talk first with Louanne Kaupa, who is a registered dietitian, has an organization called Eat Well Nutrition Therapy. Thank you. And we're going to talk about diabetes today and the impact of that, and all of the kinds of things that we can fit in for the 10-minute segment. And then we're going to come to Diana Kelley and a couple of her colleagues who are going to talk about IRIS, Infants Remembered in Silence, and talking about the upcoming fundraiser called Turkey Trot. And that should be interesting to hear as well. We appreciate always your feedback about Owatonna Today, what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear. So if you have information or suggestions as to who and what you'd like to have on the program, please let us know that by giving us an email at owatonnatoday@charter.net or by calling Leanne at 390-5751. Now we're going to take a quick break for some messages from our sponsors, and they'll be right back with Louanne, so please stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Beth Giltvet.
And I'm Dr. Nick Vincelli of Horizon Eye Care.
We want you to see what you love and love how you see. We're proud sponsors of the Owatonna Today Show.
Kick off your holiday season with Advocates for Developmental Disabilities 27th Annual Festival of Trees, Friday, November 17th at 7:30 p.m. at the Owatonna Holiday Inn. The gala is a festive evening of sparkling trees, holiday entertainment, silent auction, delectable hors d'oeuvres and desserts, and specially decorated fresh wreaths. Tickets are available at Cashwise, Hy-Vee, Kotke's, or by calling 451-9769. Put some merry in your holidays by attending AD's opening night event, Friday, November 17th. Hope to see you there.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection, and welcome to an old Owatonna Today friend.
Yes.
Yes. Louanne.
Yes.
Thank you for being here again.
Good to see
you always
you.
have something newsy, informational, to bring. So today, but you have no displays.
I don't have
Sad
any
about
props
no
today,
props
sorry.
and no leave behinds like quality food and things of that nature, Poor Peter. So today we're going to talk about diabetes.
We are.
And some of the contributing causes and the impacts of that, not only personally, but socially.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot about those things, and so and how nutrition plays into that.
Yep.
Yeah. So is it epidemic stage here in our country, or moving in that direction?
Not just in our country, but around the world.
Really?
We're becoming, our Western diets have emigrated to other parts of the world, and they're seeing diabetes rates increase much actually faster than we are, especially in India and China.
So we can talk about the diet then of what that is contributing, because I'm sure diet is not the sole contributor to it, but maybe a big player.
Right. So November is Diabetes Awareness Month, so I just want to top that off. That's kind of
Cool.
why I'm here, to
Good.
at least increase that awareness of diabetes.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, diabetes prevalence is about 8% of our population. Pre-diabetes is a little over 6% of our population, so that's people who are trending toward that diabetes. It's really the obesity epidemic that is fueling worldwide diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, which is what we're usually talking about here, is very highly related to obesity, but also genetic. And we can't pick our parents, so we can't pick our genes. We either have genetic marker to potentially develop diabetes or we don't. But that obesity issue and lack of physical activity, people who are physically active and maybe a little bit overweight can ward off diabetes if they're continuing to be physically active. So that's really, really important.
So we think about diabetes, and I think anyway, sugar. I mean, carbohydrates, you know, and intake of all of that, and I guess it's how we process that, right?
Right, and mainly just the overeating part. Like too much of anything is not usually good.
Okay.
So it really comes down to that moderation.
All right.
And in the last 50 years, you know, our food supply has changed dramatically. The number of convenience foods and processed foods on the market is just multiplied. I mean, when we were children, we didn't have big box grocery stores.
Sure.
We had soda pop, but it was in what?
7, 8 ounce bottles, yeah.
Right, that's originally what it came
Yeah.
out with, was 7, 8 ounce bottles, and now we have, you know, the big gulps that are 30 ounces.
sure.
And so that has contributed, just that supersize portions of everything.
So, okay, so we were talking before the show about having to go get my blood tests, you know, and, you know, horrors, right? Haven't done it for a few years. If at this point, at this very moment today, what would be some of the symptoms of diabetes if I don't know that I have it or I'm on the doorstep of it? What would be some of the things that I might be experiencing?
Or first of all, what is diabetes?
Diabetes, well, there are two types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is actually an autoimmune disorder, and in type 1 diabetes, generally it's a virus of some sort that attacks the pancreas and the beta cells, specifically of the pancreas, and we lose production of insulin altogether.
All right.
So they have to have exogenous or insulin injections or the pump or whatever methods they're going to be choosing. Oral medications will not work for type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is fueled by that obesity epidemic, fueled by the body not producing insulin appropriately anymore, and then the cells not recognizing the insulin. And insulin is important to get glucose from our bloodstream, and glucose is the primary energy source for all of our cells, so for our brain tissue, for our muscle tissue, to our heart tissue, etc. So if insulin isn't recognized to get that glucose in the cell, we end up with higher sugar levels in our bloodstream. And higher sugar levels in our bloodstream, just think about your blood being as thick as pancake syrup. Because when blood sugars get to about 200, that's about how thick your blood is going to be viscosity-wise and flowing-wise. It's just sluggish. So you might feel a little tired. You might be thirsty frequently. That's one of the major symptoms of diabetes. But with type 2 diabetes, it usually happens over months, possibly years, that we see that creeping up until it's really bad, which is why you go in and get it checked regularly to hit off potentially that early signs of diabetes or that pre-diabetes. Because if we can start addressing some of those lifestyle issues, we can delay onset of full-blown diabetes.
So ultimately, for that type 2, it can become controlled.
Yes.
With diet, proper diet.
And physical activity.
And physical activity.
Right. Yep. And just keeping that weight your weight. It doesn't take a lot. There has been trials done with diabetes prevention and lifestyle. They have 16-week classes, various places that really address, in a group setting, getting people to be physically active. And when we talk about physical activity, we're talking about 150 minutes a week. It's not a ton. We're talking 30 minutes, 5 days a week. It's not out there jogging. It's moving. It's walking. It's biking. It's just moving those muscles to use that energy. But also really watching that food intake. And if we can get people to lose 7% of their body weight, we can see those blood levels return to normal. 7% isn't a lot. If you have 20 pounds, you're 20 pounds overweight, that's only about 13, 14 pounds you need to lose.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah. But it's still a challenge for lots of people, isn't it? I mean, it just we're habitual about things.
Yes. And this is a hard month. November, I think, in Minnesota is very difficult. Our days are very short, right? We're
Getting
feeling that
shorter,
today, and they're getting shorter for the
Yeah.
next 6 weeks. 4 close to, right? December 21st, I always look forward to. Yay, the days get longer. But I think it's just harder for us to get out. We tend to, we have holidays coming up.
Sure.
We tend to overeat on holidays, right? We have lots of those kind of things. We start doing our holiday baking, whatever that might be. So being physically active is really key during that time.
On television, we are bombarded with all kinds of commercials regarding chemicals for this or for that or for whatever, and one of them, or some of them, are for diabetes control.
Yep.
And there is this, we talked earlier about hemoglobin A1C.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So I don't see a lot of those drug commercials, but I think that's a question many people have, even people who have diabetes, because it is a test that is done. Once you have diabetes, they check hemoglobin A1C every 3 months to see. This is about the average where your blood sugars have been over the last 2 to 3 months. So hemoglobin A1C, also referred to as glycosylated hemoglobin, is a hemoglobin molecule. Instead of being bound with oxygen, it's bound with glucose. And if it's bound with glucose, we have less oxygen flowing to those tissues, specifically peripheral tissues, so your fingertips, your toes, your eyes, the kidneys, those little tiny capillaries, and that's when we can get some damage. So hemoglobin A1C is a test that's done. Sometimes they do that as a screening test as well for diabetes, potentially. They want to see it below 5.7 because that's normal. That means only 5.7% or less of your hemoglobin is bound to glucose.
If a person has type 2, has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, is it diabetes or diabetes? So it doesn't matter.
People say it both ways.
Can they move into type 1?
No.
Not generally, because it's a different deal.
It's a different
Virus.
disorder.
Yeah.
You're right. An autoimmune disorder versus truly some endocrine. Well, it's an autoimmune disorder with endocrine basis, but it's a lifestyle related.
Okay.
Right.
If we talk about, and we'll just kind of quickly about some things that we really want to monitor. You talk about moderation, but monitoring like sugar intake, carbohydrate intake. What other things are there?
It's mainly that carbohydrate load at one time. Okay. So balanced portion sizes. Eat more fruits and vegetables. They have less carbohydrate in them. Eat more whole grains. They're going to fill you up more. You're not going to eat as much of them. Our highly processed grains just give a big glucose jump.
Wow, I wish we had more time to go through more, a deeper. But nonetheless, we understand November is
Diabetes Awareness Month.
Diabetes Awareness Month, and we got things that we can do if we are on the doorstep or in the door.
Right.
To help ourselves to stay away from it. So, hey, thanks for, again, being here to tell us wonderful things.
Right, and I'm going to plug the Iris Turkey Trot because that's a way to get physical activity the day of Thanksgiving.
Sweet, yeah.
Before you eat all that.
Before, that's right.
Well, thanks to Louanne for being with us, and thank you for being with us as well. We're going to take a few minutes for commercial messages, and then we will be right back with the folks from Iris, so please stay with us.
Amy Swain Hearing Centers is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show. I'm Dr. Amy Swain, and I want everyone to hear better.
Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas produced by gas-fired appliances in your home. The state of Minnesota requires that you have a carbon monoxide alarm within 10 feet of sleeping areas in your home. We suggest you have a digital readout carbon monoxide alarm. That way we were able to check and see what the concentration amount was when the alarm went off. This has been a public safety tip from the Owatonna Fire Department.
Hi, I'm Betsy Linger from the Owatonna Foundation. Your generosity has made Owatonna a better place to live by benefiting our community, the arts, recreation, and education. Please consider a donation today. The Owatonna Foundation is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
Owatonna Public Utilities, real people, real reliable, real progress. Making life a little easier day after day, taking pride in our community, listening to what you say, a voice you can talk to. We're growing with you in mind in everything we do. Owatonna Public Utilities.
Hi, I'm Tim Anderson, the owner of Anytime Fitness, where we make getting healthy affordable and convenient. Anytime Fitness is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
Well, welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection. Since 1991, happy to have some folks going to talk about Turkey Trot today. We've got representatives from IRIS, Infants Remembered in Silence, a group that was formed way back in 1987. Diana Kelley and Holly Moullin, and Trot is here. And Trot, we're going to get to look at. We're not going to hear from Trot unless Trot will say gobble gobble or something like that. But anyway, all of you, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
And a lot of important things to hear from you today, and let's not waste any more time.
Right.
Let's talk about IRIS and its formation back in 1987. As a result, Diana, you are the foundress.
Right. Some friends and I started IRIS after my son was full term and stillborn because there wasn't a lot of information available to help grieving parents at the time. And from there we started, he was born in 87 or 85, and then in 87 we started the organization, and it very quickly became aware that it wasn't going to stay just in Faribault. And so the next place we went was to Owatonna. Now we service 6 counties that we provide services with advocates who go into the hospitals and the funeral homes and work directly with the child that's passed away and the parents.
So in your particular case, it was kind of hard for me. At any rate, it's hard to talk about as a parent. But what were you experiencing? What was the welling up? I can imagine, but that prompted you to say, there's more we can do here.
I was looking for information to prove that I wasn't crazy, which sounds kind of strange. But I was having feelings and emotions that everybody around me said, oh, just forget it and move on. Just forget it and it'll go away and it won't be a problem anymore. And it was a problem. I had 2 other kids at home that I was having a hard time taking care of because I couldn't remember to do things, what time is lunchtime, that type of thing.
Right.
You have to have people around you to help you and to show you what you need to do and to tell you that you're not crazy. Things that you think about, the normal things that moms go through after they've had a baby. Well, now you still have to go through all those things, but the baby's not there, and it just causes a lot more problems.
So was that common? Have you found that to be a common
Every single
experience?
solitary mom.
Yeah.
Every one of them has had the same problem where they can't focus, they can't remember things that they need to do, they have a feeling that they're going crazy. If I get a phone call from a mom at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's usually because she thinks she's hearing her baby cry, which is a normal response. Your mind doesn't know that the baby's not there. And so you have these weird things that happen to you. And if I get a mom who's crying, and all I say to her is, did you hear your baby cry? And they're like, how did you know that? How did you know that I feel like I want to scrub my skin off? How do you know those things? It's because we've been there. We understand what that's like. We understand those feelings.
Yeah. Holly, did you have similar feelings? Or
Mine
what was your
a-
experience?
Yeah, mine was a bit different because I was a freshman in college. I was unmarried, and my child was born 2.5 months early and only lived 2 weeks. So it was like what Diana was saying, people just said, forget about it and move on, but so there was nobody for me to talk to, no IRIS back then. So I came to Minnesota 8 years ago and stumbled upon IRIS and had lots of nice conversations with Diana and, going through the healing process, 30 years later is just a bit different.
Yeah.
And it does come back. I mean, even if you think you've stuffed it and you're doing fine, we work with women who are in their 70s and their 80s who don't know where their babies are even buried at. And so we've been able to help them find where their babies are buried. And they talk about the same things, that, you still have that feeling of regret and not knowing what happened. And a lot of times they blame themselves. And those are normal things. But if somebody doesn't tell you those are normal, then it becomes a huge issue.
And I suppose, depending upon the time, the normal course of events was to do things to protect maybe the mother.
Right. They thought they were doing the best thing by not letting you see, hold, or touch the baby. They thought they were doing the right thing by telling you to forget about it, go home and have another baby, and just completely forget about this. And it didn't work. It didn't work.
Let's talk about because we need to talk about the Turkey Trot and what it is and where it's going to be and all of that.
Okay.
Let's share that.
Okay. So the Turkey Trot is on Thanksgiving morning. We do early check-in the day before, so it will be on the 22nd this year. It's at the Faribault Middle School, and that's on the south end of town in Faribault. And then we do the actual Turkey Trot itself is on Thanksgiving morning. Doors open at about 6:30, 6:45 in that area somewhere, just depending on when people start lining up early. And then we have check-in that day as well. And then we do the events starting at 8 o'clock in the morning with the kids' events, the Tot Trot and the Gobble Wobble. I like the names. The kids do wobble as they go on down the road. They're pretty cute. Yeah. And then from there we start with the 10K run, which is that starts at 8:35, and then at 8:40 is the 5K run, and then at 8:45 is the 5K walk. Okay. So there's a lot of people there.
A lot of things you can, whatever lifestyle allows you to do.
Whatever you want to do. So we have people who are walking and running and doing a combination, and Trot goes out.
Trot is going to be along.
Trot will be there.
Are people also coming decorated?
They do. Costumed? They do. We usually have a couple of Santa Clauses. We usually have a couple of people who are dressed up in tutus, and there's one guy who dresses up every year as a different kind of a turkey. We've had Elvis. We've had all kinds of different things that have showed up. So we try and they do. They have a really good time.
Is this your primary fundraiser?
It is. This is a huge fundraiser.
But you have others as well.
We do. Yes.
Okay. Holly, other things that your organization is involved in?
My primary involvement is with the Turkey Trot, being the main fundraiser. But the IRIS organization itself has a number of different fundraisers, like there's a motorcycle ride, pancake breakfast. The next one coming up is in February.
It's February 10th.
Pancake breakfast, February 10th.
And you also 13th, have the little back.
The little black dress is on March 10th. That's something new that we're, that'll be, and it's going to be here in Owatonna. Okay. Same themes as what we were doing before here in town with the little black dress. So, but we're running it now. So,
let's talk about what you brought, because this is it's poignant. It's the clothing. Could we?
Absolutely.
I mean, one would think if we didn't know what we were doing, is that that's for the doll. The doll clothes. Yeah. But this is for?
That will be for a baby at about 16 gestational weeks. I'm going to hold it up so she can see.
Look at that. And now this article of clothing has been produced by somebody.
Right.
It's not buying these in stores.
We have a seamstress. Her name is Sherry Lee, and she does all of our sewing for us. So they're specifically made to work with the children who have passed away. So, for example, this one over here would be for a baby at 10 gestational weeks. And then this next one would be 14, and this one would be 16 weeks again.
So if we didn't really have an idea of what the size
it's kind of hard to see how, put the pen next to it maybe so they can see how big we're talking here.
Here's a marker.
They can be pretty tiny. So that would be at about 14 weeks.
Wow.
And here's that little one. Look at that.
And they're completely formed. You can tell if it's a boy or a girl. You're looking for girl parts, not boy parts. We can get handprints and footprints off of those babies, and it's interesting to get the little teeny tiny fingerprints as well. And then the clothing just goes up in size all the way. Just keeps going all the way up, and super soft. And I think people are sometimes surprised by the fact that parents get to choose. So in the hospital here, there are 3 of every size of clothing. So there'll be 3 of every size of girl outfits the parents can pick. There'll be 3 of the boy outfits that they can pick, and 3 of the teeny tiny. If they fit an egg, they fit.
Look at that.
So they're beautiful, and parents are usually very surprised about the fact that there are options for them. We also have blankets that are hand knit and crocheted, and then everything comes in a box set like this, so that they can pick out what they want and what's right for them.
It's wonderful, wonderful. And because really you're about healing, are you not? I mean, you talk about your own experience, but in Holly, your experience, is that delta that you lived in for maybe way too long. Well, not maybe, way too long.
Yeah, but if it's all about healing and giving everybody their options, what's right for them, because what's right for me isn't what's right for you, and Holly might need something completely different.
Right.
So we try and give everybody what their options are and let them kind of go from there. And we also have a lot of bereavement materials as well. So there's information for moms, dads, grandparents, everything on stillbirth, miscarriage, ectopic pregnancies, all those types of things. But the one thing I think is kind of interesting for people to see is this little paper. It has information. This is what people expect the grief process to be like, nice and neat and clean. But in reality, it looks more like this one over here, where it's all over the place. you don't stay nice and neat inside of a little bubble. Everything is a mess.
IRIS is a pretty unique organization, isn't it? I mean, it's southern Minnesota.
It is. We do a 6-county area right around here.
Yeah.
We do have advocates who are in Florida and Texas, there's some in Missouri, a couple in Iowa, Wisconsin, and all over. There's quite a few up north, Minnesota, and all over our area as well.
As the executive director, how often is your phone ringing or emails coming to ask for information, how to start? People from elsewhere.
Elsewhere, we get a lot of phone calls, an awful lot from like down south, around the world.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see when you get phone calls from, China or wherever. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, well. A tough topic to talk about, but it's certainly one that, brings us to a higher level of understanding and of feeling.
Right. And the Turkey Trot is able to give back, which is all what Thanksgiving is all about, is to give back to others. So it can be a wonderful event.
Thanks for bringing all of this and information, and best wishes with the Trot. Trot, nice to have you here. And thank you for being with us as well today. We're going to take some time for messages, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
At Triumph Graphics, we think beyond ink. That's why you should make us your source for creative concept, design, print, mail, and web. Check us out today at triumphgraphics.com.
Hi, my name is Dave Efforts with TPS Insurance. We're here to handle all your insurance needs. We are a very proud supporter of the Owatonna Today Show.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection. We have some community announcements for you today. The Sons of Norway, Nortana Lodge number 1-638
Hi, I'm Jody Boyson
has
with the
partnered
staff
with
at
Steele
Fair-
County Historical Society to present New Land, New Life, Norwegian Immigration to Minnesota, 1825 to 1925 at the Steele County History Center in Owatonna. The exhibit will be shown November 9th through January 27th. Collection boxes for the 2017 County Toys for Tots program are ready to be filled for the giving season. There are more than 80 collection boxes in Steele County at businesses, schools, and churches. Donations of new unwrapped toys are being accepted through Tuesday, December 12th. The application deadline for Steele County Toys for Tots registration is Wednesday, November 15th. And for more information about Steele County Toys for Tots, visit the website or Facebook page for updates. The 27th Annual Festival of Trees, Friday, November 17th, is the opening night event. A benefit for advocates for developmental disabilities serving Steele County. It's at Owatonna Holiday Inn and Suites, Hotel and Suites. It is open to the public, silent auction, cash bar, hors d'oeuvres, and desserts. Okay? And we will do that on, again, the 17th of November. And finally, on Saturday, November 18th, Owatonna High School Auditorium, Give Hope, a community event benefiting Transitional housing, sorry. Should have known that from last week. And that will be again on November 18th of 2017. And that's going to take care of it for community announcements. We'd like to have you come back on Wednesday when we will have Jared Hendricks from Owatonna Public Utilities and Leanne Peterson along with friends from the Steele County Humane Society. Thanks for being with us today. Look forward to having you back on Wednesday.